As we get ready for another season in the National Hockey League, there are some players who are feeling the heat right now. So let's take a look at the NHL players that are on the hot seat for the 2025-2026 NHL season. Another season in the NHL is just about here. So today, let's look at the players that need to kind of snap it up a little bit, or else they could be on the move out of some pretty cushy situations. At least that's how we're going to start this. Our I guess I didn't really order these. Hey, I'll bounce around and we'll come up with the order together. Our number 5 player on the hot seat is Jesperi Kotkaniemi for the Carolina Hurricanes. The only reason that his seat maybe isn't as hot is I don't know who could still be wanting to take on 4 years at over $4 million for Kotkaniemi. The Montreal Canadiens took a chance on the kid and drafted him high. I don't think they did him any developmental favors with how they utilized him early, and it just feels like he's never been able to get on track. Now he's with Carolina. He is halfway through that gigantic offer sheet that the Hurricanes threw his way, and at $4 million a year, he is a fourth-line center for a team that has Stanley Cup aspirations. So I just feel like if Carolina is looking to make a big splash. Now, they already have a lot of salary cap space anyway, but if they're looking to make one more big splash, a la the Rantanen move from a season ago, Kotkaniemi is probably definitely involved in it, or he's on his way to like a Chicago or a San Jose or a Calgary in some kind of a salary dump type of a move to get him off of the books so we can free up a roster spot and be able to make a big push at a big time player. So Kotkaniemi needs to find whatever potential people thought he had. He needs to get there this upcoming season. So he is number 5 on the players on the hot seat. Number 4, this one is basically a 40-way tie. It is everyone on the Islanders and the Rangers. There are some obvious exceptions, right? But Barzal's not going anywhere. Fox, Shesterkin not going, Sorokin not going anywhere. But aside from that, if this is another down year in New York, whether it be Long Island or Broadway, then it feels like massive changes are coming. The Islanders already went that direction with the trade of Noah Dobson. They have a couple of guys who are on expiring contracts and a couple others that aren't. The expiring contracts, if it's another bad season in New York for the Islanders, I think it's obvious those ones are going. And then you look at what you could get back for Pollock, the guys on defense that have similar names, Horvat as well. Like, there are a lot of pieces on this team that would benefit playoff teams. Now, if you are saying that, well, why don't you just make this a playoff team? They've tried. They gave it a good run. It doesn't feel like it's clicking now. And if it's another down year, it feels like this will be a restart with already future face of the franchise, Matthew Schaefer, as the number 1 overall pick coming out of the draft. And with the Rangers, this has been a bit of a surprising era where they thought they were going to rebuild. They get Lafreniere and Kakko, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're good, and we're making runs at championships and stuff like that. And so now, though, Panarin's in the last year of his contract. Zibanejad kind of feels like he's on the other end of it. Who the hell knows what you're getting out of JT Miller? You've already traded a couple of franchise icons out the door, specifically Kreider. I feel like if this year goes sideways with the Rangers, it is full teardown mode. I am stunned that Drury is still the man at the helm for this with the Rangers, but if this year goes bad, there's no way Panarin's coming back. And at that point, I think it's all systems go with a bunch of trades heading out of the Rangers. So maybe cheating a little bit on this list. But number 4 is basically everyone on the Islanders and on the Rangers. Coming in at number 3, it is Mike Matheson with the Montreal Canadiens. This is a franchise that has drafted very effectively on the blue line, and those prospects are starting to come through, right? Like, Goulet is already just a rock on that blue line. Hudson wins the Rookie of the Year last year, getting that Calder Trophy, and feels like has just scratched the surface of what he could be. They traded for Noah Dobson. They have a lot of pieces in this organization that feel like defensemen of the future. Matheson's on the final year of his contract. He really needs to show that he can be a leader in that locker room and a steadying force for a young defenseman. And I get, like, he has been a lot of what Montreal would want him to be. You look at some of the underlying numbers and they're not great. He hasn't had positive Corsi high danger chances for any numbers in his 3 years with the Montreal Canadiens. So you start to get a little bit worried for him about where does he fit long term with a franchise that's looking to take a step forward and has a lot of really good defensemen that it feels like maybe he's just getting in the way. And so if they are looking for a big ticket center that costs around $8.7 million a season, I know he still has a year left on his contract, but that could be very, very quickly if they are looking to make a big time splash, and it doesn't feel like it would take a lot for them to kind of backfill behind him if they wanted to make a franchise altering move for a generational talent at the center position. At number 2, it's also Montreal, and it's Kirby Dach. They are looking to take another step forward this year, and if they do that, Dach is falling further and further behind. He is such a tantalizing player, right? You see the upside when he is healthy and you see what he can do, and it just never really clicks because he doesn't stay healthy. But now, like before, it was okay, young player, having some trouble staying healthy, but we need to kind of just let him develop. We're not winning games this year, it's fine. But now you're winning games. Now you're going to playoff games. And this team is expected to take another step this season. He's their number 2 center at the moment. You need your number 2 center when you look at the rest of the Eastern Conference and see what you are going up against with Florida, with Toronto, with Tampa Bay, with Carolina, right? You see what you are stacking up against. Even Ottawa, right? They're 3 deep right now at centers that you feel pretty good about. So Dach needs to find that gear. He needs to stay healthy, or else this team is going to pass him by. And again, talking about a certain center out in Pittsburgh that everyone is attaching Montreal to rumors-wise, that is a really, really big possibility. And something that Dach, I think, needs to try to play his... Not that Kirby Dach is going to be the reason why you don't get Sidney Crosby, but he needs to make sure he's not part of the package heading back to Pittsburgh and into a bit of obscurity right now and try to stay on a team that is certainly on the rise. So he is the number 2 player on the hot seat in the NHL for the upcoming season. Before we get to number 1, I just want to remind you guys that you can catch Couch Potato Diary wherever you go in podcast form, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So the number 1 player who is sitting on the hottest seat for the 2025 NHL season is Stuart Skinner, goalie for the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, it feels weird to say there's a lot of pressure on a team that has gone 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups, but those have been entirely winnable, and they have 2 of the best players in the world on their team right now. One of them is without a contract for next season, so the pressure is very, very high in Edmonton. This has to be the last chance that Stuart Skinner gets. If he gets pulled again in the playoffs, you have to look for an upgrade. That should be, obviously, number 1 on the priority list right now is getting Connor McDavid signed to the longest contract you could possibly sign him to. That's option 1. 2, maybe find a better defenseman. But I think right below Connor McDavid, honestly, is figuring out this goalie spot. Skinner, from all accounts, seems like a great dude, right? Awesome hang, and has come up with big moments at times. But I don't think he has been consistently good enough to get this Oilers team to where Connor McDavid and everyone else thinks that they should be able to get to. And if he is a problem again this season, Edmonton has to make a move at that spot to continue to be a competitive NHL franchise going for the Stanley Cup. So Stuart Skinner is the player that I feel is feeling the most heat for this upcoming season. Just going back through them, Kotkaniemi was number 5. At 4, it was everyone, basically, on the Islanders and Rangers. 3, Mike Matheson. 2, his Canadiens teammate, Kirby Dach. And number 1, Stuart Skinner. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat for those watching live and in the comments for those watching after the fact. Who else? I mean, A, am I wrong on any of these? Are some of these guys just like, no, man, they're fine? Or is there someone else who is maybe feeling a little bit of the heat for the upcoming NHL season? Let me know in the chat or in the comments. Tall John in the comments, getting a goalie won't matter if Connor does not sign. That is key number one. Yes, no, of course. You could just bring back Martin Brodeur in his prime. And if Connor McDavid doesn't sign, it's not going to matter for them. But I do think also, if the McDavid thing drags on into at the end of the season, right? Which, holy hell if it does. The conversations we will be having. But I do feel like if they lose in the playoffs again and goaltending is the issue, I do think that it will hinder their chances of keeping Connor McDavid around, right? So yes, signing Connor McDavid is obviously key number one, but getting the goaltending figured out does feel like it would help key number one very, very much, So that's kind of my reasoning for that one. Thoughts from Connor D. Thoughts on the idea that either Dobson or Hudson will have a relatively disappointing year because one of them will have their opportunity reduced. Sort of a Burns-Carlson situation. I do think that, yeah. I think we kind of did this, and I'm going to be doing it a little bit later on this week here, going through each statistical category and picking guys who will fall out, guys who could jump in. I initially had put Dobson in as someone who could get a bit of a bump playing on a better offensive team with Montreal, but it was brought up to me, hey, he's probably power play 2, right? Like, you're not taking Hudson off there. They got a bunch of guys, he's not making that first power play unit. So, yeah, I think statistically, it's going to seem weird that Dobson may have less points this year than he did last season because he's on a significantly better offensive team, but it's just the opportunities won't be there. I think Hudson, it will probably be the shining star of that, and Dobson will be number 2. But I think there's absolutely a world, Connor, where that becomes a situation out in Montreal where one of those guys statistically has a bit of a down year there for sure. Connor D also saying that Stevie Y feeling the heat. I didn't do front office people. Maybe I should have. We are going to do coaches on the hot seat here in just a second. Tall John, back on the ticket conversation. I've made the trip up the QE2 for multiple cup runs in 24 and 25, and it's phenomenal. But goalie has been the sticking point prior to the success. I honestly thought they might make an offer to Marc-Andre Fleury for a tryout. That's the other thing, is that it's not like this has just been the last couple of years. This has been an ongoing issue basically since Dwayne Rollison, right? And so there is a reason why all those jackasses from the trial coming back, initially, when everyone heard that Carter Hart had basically a deal in place, everyone's first thought was, oh, well, of course Edmonton, right? But even beyond that, like the John Gibson thing, I don't know how they weren't able to get that done. They came in second in going for Jacob Markstrom. And then obviously Calgary wasn't going to trade him to Edmonton. But they have been aware that this has been a problem for a while, and they just haven't addressed it nearly effectively enough. So that it's a big problem in Edmonton. 100%. It is a big problem.